I'm gonna not.
You caught up and reminiscing, know that you sneak listening, still watching my story when you got it in it. You say you finally found your king, but he still ain't get you that ring. You pretend to settle for enough, then you still
Welcome to Nina's Bag. Nina's Bag is a podcast that I created to develop a safe space to have conversations about a multitude of topics. And, we have relatable guests. Today, we're blessed to have an amazing guest, Mr. Recardo Langston, known by many. Many people see this man as a community great. He's been here, he grew up here, but I am so very happy to have Ricardo on the show today because we're going to get into the depth of him. And today's topic is the depth of a man. Ricardo, thanks for coming. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
No, this is going to be a great show. So, there's so many different aspects of your life that I would love for people to be privy to, and I'm glad that you're being decent enough to let us, have your time today. I know how busy life is. So I'd like to start with, let's do, and you can, I'm gonna follow your lead. It's not just for me to tell you how we're gonna do this. I would love to talk about your time in the street because a lot of people know about you and your time in the street. So and I want to hear the good and the bad, if possible.
The good, the bad, the ugly.
That's what I want. I want it all. I want it all. So how young were you when you actually first really got in the street? Or were introduced to the street?
Well, growing up in Kingston and I guess growing up in the ghetto, they call it, but to us, it's like it's home. You know what I mean? Like
There's a ghetto in Kingston?
Yeah. So we were prone to these environments because that's where we grew up at. So I wouldn't necessarily say I was introduced to the ghetto or to the street. I was just a product of my environment, which could be good, it could be bad, So at an early age, you see all the guys come around, all the big time guys back in the day, and you kind of like just had the thought in the back of your mind if what you were doing didn't work, and you figured I'm gonna go this way to the street. So I was about 20, 21 when I got into the street.
Okay.
Like full time, like rocking and rolling, like.
Okay. And for this to be such a small town, Kingston, like, was it? Did you find it to do something and to be in the street that you were favored? Were you like a hero? Were you looked up to by young people?
Yeah, I was, but my story comes from like the early days of playing basketball and sports.
Okay.
So I
was
with the youth, I was with the older guys, I was with people my age, and that's kind of how you get hooked into what you're in because that's the ball player. He's already, those guys are from the area, they play ball. So all the like street guys wanted to play ball with us in the summer, and all the people we grew up played ball with us in the summer, and then our friends that were fortunate to be in a better environment came and played with us. So that's how we end up getting the whole gist of everyone coming together. So it was like honestly, it's kind of like a movie, you know what I mean?
So when you say street ball, there's not like a good street ball game.
Yeah.
Like I don't care where you are, where you go, what city you're in. a good street ball game
Yep.
is like, can bring a community together.
Yep.
It could create a whole community event. So you were playing like at courts in Kingston, like,
Yeah,
is that what you were doing?
we played at Block Park, which is a legendary park, and
Yes,
it just
that's where I grew up.
no, it just got renamed to Kenny Bryant.
Kenny, shout out to Kenny Bryant, who
Yeah.
I love.
Legend, you know what I mean?
Definitely a legend.
Those are legend guys. Those are the people that when I was a little kid and we go to the park down there, they would be playing. You know what I
That's
mean?
such a good,
So,
beautiful point right there.
and
Wow.
and we play at Deet Stadium sometimes or Lauren Park, but the majority of it is like how Madison Square Garden was Mecca.
Right. Block
That
Park was
Block
it.
Park was our Mecca. You know what I mean?
And I understand it. But you know what? I think one of the things I always heard about when I was out in the community, I always heard that there was no lights down there.
No, but we would get a little bit of the light
Of
from
the
the
baseball.
softball field,
Okay.
and we would play until dusk, about 9.
Got
So
it.
we would get, you know, it would just you don't see the kids down there no more.
Right.
It's
That was the icon.
yeah,
That place
yeah.
was definitely the place to be.
all the legends: Billy Chafin, Clark Chafin,
Wow.
Cotty,
Boogie, did
Boogie Vandermark,
Yes. Oh my God,
Um,
that's crazy.
Donnie Tenbrook, like
Gino Burris.
Gino Burris. Like these were guys that I looked
Wow.
up to as a little kid because my father would go down there and play sometimes.
Gino.
Yeah,
Everybody played down there. They said.
legendary place.
That's crazy. So it's funny because this is such a small place, and I remember Kingston not having much for people of color. Like, and I think that's how that kind of happened with street ball being a a good thing for us to actually like. We looked up to like going to Block Park to
Yeah.
see street ball.
That's like an event. Like, you know, we got an event
Right.
out sometimes at night. That was like
Right.
an event during the day that, or from 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock, you knew Block Park was gonna be special.
Yeah.
All the
Yeah.
ladies would come out, all the big time street guys would come out, all the big time ball players, whether they played over in C's, college, high school.
Do you remember any phenomenal games down there?
Yeah, we had a bunch of them. We had
Full court you all
full
played?
court. We had Michael Parker, which played overseas. We had Preston, his brother, which probably was one of the best street ball players I've personally seen in my life touch a basketball.
Shout out.
Shout out. We had Keith Simmons, shot him out, you know, big time hero around the area. We had Tate Fisher, myself,
Definitely.
Marcel Davis,
Sally.
Cordell Johnson, Lenny Van Dyke. We had it was phenomenal. Like
That's
it was
crazy. So now they have this Metro court. So you guys never went uptown. You were always down.
yeah,
Always.
we never but I mean
I just heard about Metro.
we
like
played
when-
at Metro because we grew up in that area,
Right.
but we never played like full court games,
Right.
or it was never a popular place to really play. But
Right.
you know, growing up from the Boys and Girls Club, we go over there after the club closed, play 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3. Like that
Okay.
was our life.
So you used to go to the Boys and Girls Club too?
Yeah, that was one of my favorite places. Shout out Joe Fay, RIP, was a good man.
Yes.
Steve Knox was a terrific guy, and Eric Chambers was another guy that was a good person for us in the community.
Yeah.
And he kind of kept us. Those guys kept us. That was like a home away from a home.
And you know, now even still just Boys and Girls Club is still a very, very big thing in this community. They do amazing things with kids. It's still a safe place. Shout out the Boys and Girls Club. And there's so many people that they've actually pulled in from the community to
Right.
work there with.
Right.
So I think that that's always been a very, very positive thing in our community. Yeah. So you played ball. Did you play high school ball?
Yeah, I played high school ball, played college ball.
Oh, cool. So when you Kingston High School, you were like with people that you grew up with.
Yeah, I was with everyone that I grew up. I was with the Keith Simmons, the Tate Fishers, the Jesse Cannies.
Wow.
Oh man,
Oh, you're from that era. So
Chris Lyons,
I used to hear a lot
Terrence
about
Harris,
that. I used to
Jeremy
hear-
King. We made some noise and we put Kingston on the map. At
I
that
like
point.
it. I like it. So from there, like so you said you also played college ball. Was it mostly with people that were not from here on the team?
Yeah, it was a different set of group of
College
guys.
does that. It's like taking you from your home
Yeah,
environment to
yeah.
something totally different. Yeah.
It made you appreciate that time that you had in your life with them
Yeah.
of high school.
Yeah. And you don't know at the time how
Right,
important it
right.
is. I remember complaining and trying to get out of Kingston High School, but
Me too.
yeah, but there, when you get out in the world, you see, wow, that was actually kind of cool back then.
My dad said, "Hey, don't grow up too fast."
That sounds just like him. Your dad always had good sayings, always, still to this day. He don't say a lot, but what he does is meaningful.
Yeah.
Wow. So, college ball. Um, what did anybody that you played with from Kingston go like?
No,
So was just that?
that
Wow,
was
that's
just me.
different.
And I was the only kid from upstate New York, and the rest of the players were from New York City. So that was an interesting atmosphere because they automatically think because they're from New York City, they're better than us or they're tougher
Got
than
it.
us.
That
or-
happens still.
Yeah, so it
It ain't
was,
where you're from.
yeah,
That's what you're doing.
and I was the best player on that team.
I love it.
So,
I remember there was a time where at the community college here, there was always a transition of new guys, new people
Yep.
from the city coming up here. And I remember like I hear about people, I went away, so I didn't really know I'll get to meet a lot of people there. But I'm loving that you made that point because often you hear people from the city say, I'm from New York, like, oh, okay,
yeah, hello.
okay. So thank you for that. All right, so how did you transition? Like, let's talk about, all right, obviously people find themselves in street life. Sometimes there's different reasons. Sometimes people had hard lives. Sometimes people didn't have hard lives. Sometimes people just want to have independence. And it's very hard, and I'm not making excuses, but it's hard here. I worked at a major hospital, the hospital here, where I watched Black men come in to get applications to work, and they treated them so different.
Yeah,
And I remember thinking, when I noticed it, I'm like, wow, do they do that to everybody? And this is back when you actually had to fill out an
right,
application.
right. Nothing online.
No, there was a receptionist that would have actually she had a can of pens where she would point to the pens, like, here, you could take this. She'd hand them the paper, but she wouldn't even like take the pen or give them the pen that she had.
Right.
There was the customer service wasn't there, and I saw the difference, so I saw why people, especially men of color in Kingston, why they weren't given opportunities. I just wanted to make that point.
Well, that's a very good valid point.
It's something that people don't look at. People are very point the finger, kind of, when you see somebody that has taken a path that put them, that leads them to, not
Right.
so good outcomes. They
Right.
just assume that that's what you wanted to do.
Right.
Sometimes there's a need, you know what
Right.
I mean? And I'm not justifying somebody hustling or selling, but I understand it because I worked in a professional environment. I saw how different women of color might have gotten in, but it was very, very hard for men of color here.
Right. I mean, honestly, I think it still is, but it's getting a little better.
Yeah.
So that's you just got to take steps. Everybody wants something done right then and right at that time, and it does. Like as I'm going through the transition of getting older and understanding life, it doesn't work that way.
And see, these are the things. This is the nitty gritty that I want people to know because you have always blown my mind as far as the level of intelligence that you have. Sometimes it takes having a conversation with somebody. So people see the outer shell, like you look like this big, strong guy, which you are, no doubt about it. But there's a lot of depth to you that people don't know. And that's why this conversation is so important to me. Many would assume that, Cardo's going to be on the podcast on Nina's Bag, and they're probably going to talk about all this other stuff that people assume anyways.
Right.
I do want to talk about that a little bit,
Of course.
but I want to also talk about the other stuff. So let's talk about you in the street. What did you do in the street? How did you move in the street? What was the purpose of you being in the street?
I was a young man, and my mother passed away when I was about 18. I was a senior in high school, and I was from that time on until I got out of college, which was like a couple years later, like 3 years later.
Mhm.
and I was having a daughter.
So you were a young dad.
So I ended up being a young dad at 21, 22 years old. So
I didn't realize that you had your daughter so young.
so things just spiraled out of control. You know what I mean? Like they just went so fast, and
So basically, the need to take care of your daughter was one of the things that encouraged you to take that path.
and I'm not saying it's right, but yes.
No, I just, because people assume and people think that they know
Right,
everybody simply because people tend to look at the negative. They
right.
hone in on the negative, but if this was an all positive podcast where we only spoke about the beautiful things, we probably wouldn't get listeners.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's important to me to talk about the good things, but the negative things, sometimes I believe God puts us in a path that is not always perfect, so that it prepares us for what he has down the road for us. I believe that.
They
So,
always say a negative turns into a positive.
and that's why this is so important to me, because I remember people. Now, I didn't really see you when you was in the street. I must have been in Albany or whatever, I don't know. But I didn't really see you, but I remember people saying, I'm gonna get it from Cardo. Cardo will help me. And I'm talking about monetarily, like you did good things for people.
Yeah.
It wasn't like you just were like, this is me. I want to be the biggest, best hustler in the world, and I'm going to keep it for my own. You're a very giving person, and that's something that I don't think people realize.
Yeah, I tried to like again, I say it's not right, but I tried to take care of everyone around me, and I would bring bags of clothes and brand new sneakers, and I'd give them out to where I grew up at. I would
Wow.
throw
Wow.
back to school bashes and have 100 book bags out there.
Wow.
Have a barber out there to get a bounce house. We'll cook food and just let everybody enjoy themselves before they go back to school. You know what I mean? But this is the stuff that nobody sees if you're not from
You
this
probably
community.
weren't loud about it either. You probably weren't like, this is my event, this is what I'm doing.
Not at all.
Because I could see you being that kind of person. I could see you like saying, here, let me help. I want to make this happen. You know what I mean? Some people do it because they like the light.
And I got just a quick funny story
Mhm.
to tell you. There was a lady, I'm not gonna say her name, but if she listened to this, she's gonna know who it was. And she didn't like me. She thought I was arrogant, cocky,
You
whatever,
are.
whatever. No,
You
but
are.
like all the way left.
Okay.
She could not stand me. And she seen me before school started one September, or it might have been late August. And I came uptown and I dropped off bags of clothes, bags of sneakers. And I said, kids, you get what you want, if it's your size or whatever you need,
Wow.
clothes. And she told me the story a couple years ago. And she said, you know the reason why I liked you? Because you gave them kids clothes and sneakers and she was like, I couldn't stand you.
Because people just easily look for the bad things.
Right.
Sometimes, and I hate to say, but sometimes people have things made up in their minds so much so that when you do something decent, they'll still try to find something wrong. Oh, well, they only did it but that was from the heart, because you didn't have to, you could have just waited and took care of you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Or gave it to the Salvation Army, or put it in a thrift, gave it to a thrift store.
Or just didn't care.
Right.
Or just didn't care.
Or just
period.
left it there.
Right. Like it's funny because people, some people have that in them, and some people think that it's silly. Some people don't understand the purpose of why you do things from the heart, But what I like the most about your little story there, is that you didn't make a big deal of it. You didn't say, hey, I did this for the community. Like, there's people every week that will tell you the same story that they did.
Well. And if somebody telling you a story like that, that means they didn't really want to do it.
You know what I mean? It's crazy. So you took your benefit of being in the street, and you actually used it for survival purposes.
I mean, in the beginning, it was purely on survival and just making sure I could provide for my daughter and just take care of things, and just that a job wouldn't provide for you at that time because they weren't really hiring young Black men either.
No. And I was HR, I'm a witness to it. I remember I worked at this place and they said that, oh, she's the one that only hires Black and Hispanic people. That wasn't the case. I hired everybody. But for the first time at that facility, they started seeing people of color. So they thought that that's all I was actually bringing in.
Right.
I was giving everybody, if you want to work, you can
Right.
work, you
Right.
know?
Right.
But it's funny, some communities grow a little slower than others, you know, and it's funny, we're dealing with some crazy stuff now with diversity, equity, and inclusion, and
Mm.
we ain't seen nothing yet. We ain't seen nothing yet. So as bad as things were, and things are improving here, I said, there are people in position now, like the mayor, he's inclusive, I believe. There are people in position politically that we're starting to open up, but then on a day-to-day basis at jobs and in this area, I can honestly say it's very different for somebody of color.
Yeah.
And it's sad.
Yeah.
It's really, really sad. And I hopefully, the mention of the honesty of it will actually motivate people to see why somebody has to almost go outside the box
Right.
to do what they have to do to survive, We as a community have to come up with solutions that help everybody, not just the people we know because their father owns so-and-so or people that have been prominent in the community. It's the people, the little guy. It's
Yeah.
the underserved. That to me is where the meaning is. As a community member, when you do that, then we're making a difference.
Right.
So I want to talk about, how wild was it in the street when you was in the street?
It got pretty crazy.
I don't want just a pretty picture because
No, I mean
there could be some young kid that sees this
right.
that will not listen because we're talking about stuff the way that we think it should be. But I want your relatability is very important.
It started off as a survival situation, and then it got into a situation where I got with some guys and we were making a lot of money and we were traveling and we were going to Miami, Vegas, LA.
Were you seeing things that you would have never seen here, of course?
Yeah, it opened my eyes up to life. And
because we don't know here in this little box.
Yeah, like even, all right, like if I wasn't playing a sport, I never went on vacation. My family didn't have money to go to Florida, Disney. The first time I've been to Disney World was when I played basketball. So when you see things like that and then you start accomplishing them and you start going outside the box and you're seeing bigger picture of life and
you get hungry for it.
Yeah, you're meeting like all types of players, like women, street guys,
famous people. Did you ever meet?
Oh, we used to hang out with famous people.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So let's pick a place. Tell me an interesting story, a funny story, or like a interesting story about when you was in the street. Let's say you went to Miami. Miami has places that we're never going to see up here,
right.
ever.
Right.
They got beautiful water, palm trees everywhere. I love palm trees.
Beautiful women too.
Oh my gosh, beautiful women. So Miami, you would say, is like the Mecca of Florida. It's a go-to place in Florida.
Yeah.
Just like kind of like New York is New York City is the big thing for New York State.
But
here.
I done been to New York City probably a million times, been in Miami 500,000 times, and Miami just never gets old. Like nothing about it it's just the weather's beautiful. You step out, it don't matter if it's December, August, it's beautiful. Like
when I went to Miami, I went because I wanted to see it, but I thought it was too played up. But to a young guy.
Yeah, I was 25, 24.
And see, it's different for men.
23.
You can see a chick, be like, listen, what's up? I'll get with this chick tonight. Like, it's different for men. You know what I mean?
And like, when you get stuck in an area like Kingston and you see the same women and your friend or your cousin or your family member might have dated that woman too.
It's too small.
It's too small. So there's
only so much you can do.
Once you get that experience of seeing
Yeah,
different things. You're like, man,
I understand
I
that.
ain't finna be tripping over this no more back home.
I could get out of
I'm
this.
out of here.
Yeah.
Right.
So for I always said for young people growing up, it really wasn't a lot to do here in Kingston.
Still not.
If you were really young, like high school, but once you get about 16, there still is not much
No.
that can catch the interest of somebody
No.
that might be teeter-tottering. Do I want to go to the street or do I want to do the right thing? I don't think people always choose to be in the street.
No,
And that's a misconception.
some people are very forced to be in the street.
That's one of the biggest misconceptions for people that have not had to have that experience.
Right.
And that's a point that I want to make sure that is clear. Not everybody wants to be a hustler.
No.
Sometimes people are just trying to survive. So, and I'm not glorifying it. I'm not suggesting it to anybody. But I understood it, especially from being in a professional office and seeing people come and try to apply and be treated so different.
And like I tell everybody, because I do talk to the youth, some kids think it's cool, some kids, I don't know, maybe you felt like a celebrity to them because they could like come over, touch you, and see you, and if an ice cream truck comes, you're gonna buy them ice cream. So
Well,
I always tell them,
you were that kind of person.
I always tell them there's two sides to every story. So the first side of the story is glitz and glamour and fun, but the second side of the story is a rough road. So
okay, you used to go to Miami. Did you ever go to other states like Cali?
yeah, I've been to Cali.
Did you ever see stars out there?
Yeah.
I know that's a dumb thing to
We
ask. but I wanna
party we
ask it.
partied with stars. We even got kicked out a section for some stars. So it was
Okay. So you really were in that life, like you really saw it, like I said, I didn't see you when you were, but people always like, if I were to say Cardo, they would be like, oh yeah, such and such. They would remember that part of
right,
you. You know what I mean? So did you ever get into fights?
yeah, we used to act up a little bit.
A little bit. So here now don't I know I look like a good girl, but you could give it to me, bro. You could really, really give me the nitty-gritty. So like did you ever get into like any fights where like you weren't in this area, like you were away from home?
We were in Miami one time. We got into a scuffle with Meek Mills, and then in the hotel lobby, it was crazy.
That is crazy. Because they have like guards with
Yeah,
them.
they have body, but like we would roll around
Deep too.
80, 100 people.
What?
Like we coming from the West Coast and we coming from the East Coast.
Oh my God.
So
Bigger than I
60 California guys, 40 New York guys.
You're kidding me.
Yeah.
Wow. So you live like, wow. I guess I didn't even really understand how deep it can be. You know what I mean? So now that makes me a little nervous because like, oh my goodness, so you're lucky in some aspects.
I mean, I'm honestly lucky to be alive and to be here to tell my story. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly.
I sit and sometimes I go sit in the dark, right? And I just sit there for about 15, 20 minutes and I just think about all the things and I'd be like, God, thank you for keeping me alive. You know what I mean? And keeping me and I'm free now. Like it was a
So you're free. Let's talk about that. So all right, you were in the street, you did your thing, necessity, taking care of your family, so you did a lot of fun things, you did crazy things.
Yeah.
What actually brought that life to an end?
Well, and I did this for about 10 years. So
Wow.
The amount of money
That's a
and
long time.
things that you make and things you've seen.
That's a lifetime.
And people say, why didn't you quit? Why didn't you go start a business? Because you get stuck in a repetitive situation and you're enjoying a life. And at the end of the day, we live in like rappers and athletes and entrepreneurs, you know what I mean? So that became a sickness for me. And it all came to an end when I was about 31 years old. The federal government came and picked us all up.
So was it a lot of people from that same group of people?
Yes, it was about 53
It
of
sounds
us.
like TV.
Yeah, it was 53. I had 53 co-defendants. So
Wow.
some from Poughkeepsie, some from Kingston,
Wow.
some from New York City.
That had to get messy.
Yeah, it was.
That had to get very, very messy. Because it's one thing, I'm assuming, it's one thing when you're out here and you're doing your thing, you're doing your 1-2, and even though people didn't know what you did, but to get the outcomes and be living a pretty decent life, and then boom, all of a sudden everything changed.
Gone.
Everything changed.
And that's the thing I stress to the youth when I do talk to them, or I am on somebody's platform and I'm reaching out.
That's so important.
I want to let them know that I could die tomorrow. And I had a lifetime. I took care of my family. I took care of my friends. I took care of the people I love. But it's not worth it.
So that right there, that's a gem. That's a gem that is so priceless. You know, people, there's all different topics on podcasts, but when you have experienced stuff that I see young boys, I've always been involved with helping people myself in my own way also. But when you see somebody going down a path that looks very, very glamorous to them, a lot of people that have experienced it and have actually found themselves in a situation where they're incarcerated, they don't care that the next kids are coming and the same thing's gonna happen. They like, shoot, I had the experience, they have to experience it.
Right.
But the fact that you are telling some young kid, like, listen, you said there's two sides.
There's two sides to every story.
And like, as much as we could laugh and talk about the hype and the outcomes that you were the things that you were able to experience, I think that was part of your story that had to happen at that time. But this is the depth that I'm talking about. You stop and you have a conversation with somebody that's in admiration of you because they know about those stories or they heard about those stories.
Yep.
So you could be saving somebody from hitting that brick wall that you ended up hitting.
And I was told from an old timer that I was incarcerated with. He was like, he said, young man, if you can change one person's life, you did it. You accomplished your goal.
That's so.
You know what I mean? Because I came across lifers and 30, 40 years, 20 years. They're giving this time away like it's like you don't have anyone at home waiting for you, or you don't have a family or someone that loves you.
So when you came across people like that, I just like, because I don't know what it's like. How a person that's been in jail for a long time before you even got there,
Right.
some of them are kind enough to give you some gems.
Yes.
As well.
Yes. But then you have the miserable people too that be like, like, you know what I mean? They just
want
don't.
You to fall.
They want you to fall. They want you to stay there with them. They want you to go. I had an old timer. He had about 27 years in, and he told me, he said, "Young blood," he said, "you're getting a second chance to go home."
Oh.
He said, "My second chance of being 13 years. You know how old I am?" I said, "How old?" 67 years old.
And he had 13 more years.
13 more years to go. He said, "What I'm gonna do when I go home at 75, 76, 77, because you get like halfway house time and good time. So he probably won't got to do the whole 13, like probably 8. You know what I mean?" So he said,
"That's crazy."
He said, "You're getting a second chance at life."
That's crazy. So I want to back up just a little bit, because the group of people that you was around, when you have that many, what do you call them? Co-defendants.
Co-defendants.
When you have that many co-defendants, everybody's not going to be on the up and up.
No.
So it had to be a horrifying thing for anybody. I don't care if it was you, somebody else. Everybody had this great life, usually, like, and then all of a sudden, boom. And then the seriousness of it is there. You know what I mean? Did it get so messy that people that were friends with you you're no longer friends with them?
Yes.
And like vice versa, like people that you knew from other places, other cities, did they experience the same kinds of things?
Yes. It's the crazy.
That's what we see in the movie. So it really happens like that.
The crazy part is everyone in a federal holding or federal prison says the same story. How we got caught, somebody told on me. When we all got picked up, some of my co-defendants told on me. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like the same revolving door. And that's the part that's
scary.
Scary to me.
To me, that's very, very scary, because you have to have a bond to be with these people, to
Right.
roll with them like you are.
Right.
right?
Yeah, it's just
And that's what a lot of young people
they don't understand.
get caught up. Like they're sometimes there's more loyalty to their friends in the street than there is to their own direct family, their
Yeah,
parents. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
And I'll be the first to tell you, I fell to that same situation that I became closer
That honesty I love.
with people than my own family, besides my father and my daughter at that time.
But see, like if you're in a movement and you're I can see how that happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But how crazy is it when you actually have somebody that you've been around for years, and then all of a sudden this crazy thing happens because life be life, and regardless of what you're doing.
yeah,
Jobs, people go to work every day, and all of a sudden, boom, something happens. There's people that are artists, and then all of a sudden something happens.
right,
Life be life.
right.
So how crazy is it to have? How crazy is it to have somebody that you was down with, that you believed in, that you thought believed in you, like on a brother level,
It's
flip on you?
and especially as you're doing the time, when you get home, it's a little better
Mm.
because you got things that take away that
Your mind
your
space.
mind. But when you're in
Mm.
jail, all you think is about, man, he gave me all the signs
So you think about things that you
that you
should have looked at.
should have looked at and you should have kind of broke away. Or
Give me an example of a sign,
like we'll be going to a nightclub and the nightclub costs $50,000 for the night. We're all pitching in the money, but the promoter's up there waiting for the money, right? So now you might be over here on South Beach in the water. You might be here, and the guy's sitting there like, man, where you guys at? Like, I gotta pay this promoter. Like crying about it. Like, we're gonna take care of it. Like, but that's the little things that you don't see.
So like you could see if you were when you look back at it, you see the writing
Yes,
was on the wall.
but I had to go through that situation to understand the writing on the wall.
To be sitting
But the
still
writing
long
was-
enough to see it.
The writing was on the wall from the time you left and went to the street. Because now, what if you get killed? What if someone killed one of your family members because they think you got $1 million in the house? What if they kidnap your kid? It's just so much that you
Wow, I never
don't,
even
you don't really understand it.
Right.
But that's why I used to roll around how I rolled around. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but that's so scary. How do you look back at things often and say, "Wow"? Like
I'm just happy to be alive in here.
like people say that all the time, but now that you break it down the way you just did, now I understand why you say that, because you could be in another state. You don't know the people in those other
Right.
states or what their capabilities are. You're just rolling with your team.
We're going to do something and we're in another state and something gone wrong, killed, shot, but what if we had this? It's just no way.
So there are kids today that actually find themselves in a situation like that just simply because they're being loyal to their friends.
Yeah.
Right? And life happens. Sometimes you're put in a position where you can't help it. Like this is, but I think it's so important that you are given the real side of things.
Yeah, and
because some people sit around and talk about all the hype and they don't talk about the negativity, the outcomes that come with it, Like if you could save it, like this young kid that was in a program I had, somebody did something to him. They were harassing him, bullying him, and he shot somebody. Finally got sick of it, and he's a kid that was like, shot somebody, and he was going to jail. And he was this little itty bitty thing. And I was so worried about this kid. Like, how's he gonna be all right? You can't say I don't want to go because I'm not really built for this.
right, you gotta go.
It's just crazy. It's really, really crazy. It's a life changer, even for somebody that's tough to go away. It's
even that young kid, after he goes through this experience of whatever time they gave him, how long, whatever,
right.
He's either gonna understand it or he's gonna be a monster when he gets out. So there's only two avenues to go. See, I'm a little bit older now.
Why you say be a monster?
It turns you.
It changes
when
you.
you live in prison environments and around a bunch of men all day, and there's
Hatred.
it might turn you into a monster. Me, I gravitated towards older men in the prison. I played chess and Scrabble and sharpened my mind up by reading inspirational books and biographies because I knew when I came out, I had to make a change for my life.
Mm.
And I'm older though now. See, if I came out at 25, 26, 27, I don't know what I would have did.
Mm-hmm. So that could be why, that could be why recidivism happens. And for those of you that don't know what recidivism is when somebody goes to prison, they come home, they don't figure out what to do different than what they were doing before, and they go back to prison, they come home again, they go back to prison. That's recidivism. It creates a cycle, and sometimes I honestly thought, and I still do, that systematic things are set up to make that happen.
Yes.
I honestly believe that if you did not have somebody, or if you didn't have your own self-intelligence, it's easy to be in that cycle.
Yes.
And I do these kinds of conversations, I'm hoping we break those cycles.
Yeah, and like I said, if you get one kid to break the cycle, we get a kid each, we won. We won.
True.
We won.
True, because some people go away and don't come home, right?
Right.
Wow, so deep. So let me I wanna talk a little bit more, because we could talk all day about the prison and the street life, because it's very interesting to me, because I don't know. People don't know. Even those that are out there that have seen you involved in those circles and doing things at that time, they really don't know the person. They don't know. So when you went away, how much time did you do?
I did about 6 years, 5 days.
And you're taken away from your daughter, and did you get to see her while you were away?
I seen her a couple times, but out of 6 years, I seen her a handful of times.
Wow, that's hard.
Yeah, and I had a good support system though, but my father, he couldn't. He would break down on the visiting floor and start having anxiety, and he couldn't do it.
Some people, it's hard. Listen,
I mean, like,
I've seen
that. I seen that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I seen that, and then him telling me, he said, "Boy, they talking about 15 years, man." He said, "Man, I don't know if I'm gonna be here when you get out."
Whoa, that's crazy.
Like, oh man,
that's crazy.
So that's why, if you're a person of honor, and whatever you choose to do in life, just be honorable and just always keep your head above water, because it'll get greater later. You know what I mean?
That's another gem. Another gem. So, wow, that's crazy, because, jail, incarceration does not just affect the person that goes away. It affects
everyone. I didn't know
people that you love in a way, and people that it affects, people that you've helped.
Right.
People that you don't even realize how important you are in their life. You know what I mean? Like, there could be somebody that you just do bones every now and then, and like all of a sudden they might find themselves in a position where nobody's going to be as thoughtful as you are.
Right.
And then next thing you know, they might get caught up in their own cycle, but it affects the whole entire family, and it affects kids too. So,
and I will tell you that it did affect my relationship with my daughter. We're in a very good space for most of the time, but it'll be like we have a disagreement. I don't like something she's doing, or she might not like something I'm doing. And she'll be like, "Well, where were you at the last 6 years? Don't tell me what to do." So you know what I mean? That's
you missed time too. So she must have been little when
she was 7 or 8, and I came home when she was 13. 7.
Oh, that's crazy.
So
So you missed the transition.
I missed the transition, and then you know what she tells me? Dad. She used to call me daddy before I left. Dad, I'm not that little girl anymore. I'm a teenager.
How's a father accept that?
So I'd sit and I have numerous talks. I even have talks with your son about it. And he, like, as him being a younger man, he made me be able to transition back into society, because I spent all my time with just him when I came home. So he was a person that gave me knowledge as a young man. That's why I say you can learn.
Because you missed time. But you missed time. And getting a perspective from somebody that's safe is real
Right.
important. And I hope whoever sees this picks up on that gem too, because you could come home and get around knuckleheads
right,
and
and go right back.
boom, get in that cycle again. So with your daughter, when she told you that she's not a little girl anymore, how'd that make that had to make
It
you
crushed
feel
me.
like
It crushed me. But and
you had to eat it?
but in the eyes of her and the people that took care of her while I was gone, she's right. So there's just some things in life where you just got to deal with
So
it.
that's another part of incarceration
Yes,
in my
people
mind,
don't
to the
understand
person that was incarcerated. So you might, bad enough, you got to go and deal with a systematic thing like incarceration. You put yourself there, you're dealing, okay, you did your time. But when you come home and you've missed years that you can't get those back, there's nothing you can do. You know, some people can't get those relationships built up to actually deal with each other. After some people have trouble, like, moving forward.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. But I will give the testimony and the credit to my father. He was her father when I was gone.
Rick.
Like he like
Go Ricky.
when people
Go,
say
Ricky.
superheroes and heroes, he
Yeah.
always been my hero.
No,
my
you know,
superhero.
it makes me melt, and like he don't like, his father don't like attention at all, but it makes me melt how she makes him melt.
Yeah, yeah.
She makes him melt.
And it just like the first couple of weeks I got out, and you know, I'm just transitioning back, so everything's like weird,
Cloudy, like
everything is. It's like
I can't
you're
imagine.
coming from a war zone into people that love you.
I can't imagine.
And I see
your defenses had to still be high.
They were. I've seen how they interacted with each other.
Your dad and your daughter.
It was just.
So
I probably could have cried just watching it. You know what I mean? But
right. He was mushy with her?
Yeah, and she'll be like, she usually used to do that to me, like, Dad, you're gonna are we gonna go here? You want to get McDonald's? You want to go here?
Wow.
And that's the stuff he was doing with her. And
you had to see.
Had to accept it though, because he played. He was that man, that guy. Like he.
Did you ever feel like, what about me?
No, because
you were grateful.
It's just I was grateful. Like most people don't have that.
She could have just had. Oh, it could have been worse.
Yeah.
Wow. Shout out to your dad.
No,
for sure.
And the problem is, when they come from split homes, the men are never usually in the kid's life. And I always tell her, I said, if you're gonna get a man, because she's 16 now, about to be 17 years, we're rocking and rolling here. And
3 years past that, she's 16. Wait, what grade is she in?
11.
She's a year away from Stop it, Cardo.
It's crazy.
Next year she graduates. Yeah. I swear you just said she's going into the high school this year.
Yeah. I told you that 3 years ago.
No, but it feels like you just said that.
No, I know. Yeah, you're right.
That's kind of creepy.
So
you blink and it happens.
And you know, at that age, we all been there. We all been at
16
that age.
Is something different now.
You want a date? You want a boyfriend? I say just get someone like me that's going to protect you, make sure you're all right, and I'm fine with it.
But see, people that know your crazy personality would be like, "Oh my God, he's never going to let her have a boyfriend." But your daughter's not having that.
No, and
you're not going to be able to tell her just because you're this strong man that she can't have a normal life.
And I'm a reasonable person.
Oh my God.
I was 16 at once. I wanted a girlfriend. I wanted to have fun.
But it's a daughter. It's different.
I know it is, but you rather them tell you than them sneak around and do it.
No, you're right.
Right.
You're right. But she's gonna graduate.
Yeah.
Well, is your dad okay with that?
I don't know. I think he's gonna take it harder than me.
That's crazy. His baby is like growing up.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But that's so dope that you had that kind of support. That's really, really cool. I want to talk really briefly because I know our time is moving, because I could talk to you forever. But I want to talk to you. What did you do when you came home after incarceration? Because you had to make money. Like, what did you do?
I had a couple friends that were supervisors at a bread place. It was called Bread Alone. So
I hear good things about Bread Alone.
Yeah, and shout out to Bread Alone. They took me out of the ground, out of the dirt. Like, they gave me an opportunity.
Priceless.
And I always used to tell the owner, I used to be like, I appreciate you for giving me a position to get a job and get my feet into the ground of a workforce, because I never had a job until I
Ever
came home from jail.
in your life.
I've never, and besides a basketball camp,
Wait,
I never had a job.
and wait, as hard as I saw you work,
So I came home, I got a job making $17 an hour. As a man, as somebody that had a lot of money, had a lot of things, cars, women, it brung you to reality very quick. So I have to work 50 hours to get an $800 paycheck. And I did that for a year and a half. I got raises here, there. So I got up to a pretty nice paycheck. And
that's
then
deep though.
I got another opportunity from a guy that I looked up to as a childhood like mentor or something. And he was like, hey, Rick, I have an open position Monday through Friday, 7 to 4:30. You'll be my driver.
That's great.
I drive box trucks.
Wow.
And I deliver news coupons and papers.
Like advertisement
stuff. So
So
I have a regular life now and I make good money, you know?
that's so dope. And can we just give Petey a shout out?
Yeah, we can.
Petey. So everybody calls him Petey. I don't know if that's the best way to refer to him.
Or Randy is his name.
Oh, see, I don't even know that
And
name.
he is a very good man, and Frank is too, the owner of the
Frank
company.
Campana?
Yes, he is a
Frank
very
is,
good
I've
man.
had experiences with Frank. He is a community man. He is a good man.
Yes.
I appreciate you, Frank. Frank Campana, Petey, what's Petey's last name?
Randy Delanoy.
Petey Delanoy. Thank you so much for being a real community owned business that reaches back, that recognizes that if you help underserved people in a community, you're going to do well, because by building a community up to all together, everybody's going to benefit. So what's the name of the business again?
Color Page.
Color Page. Shout out to Frank and Petey at Color Page for, giving somebody the opportunity. And it's my understanding that they've done that.
Yes.
They've done that with other people as well.
Numerous people.
Thank you so much.
But that goes back to the relationships that you have with people that you always keep good.
When they say don't burn bridges, that
you don't do that to nobody.
Yeah. Wow. But it's funny because a business owner does not have to do anything except for run their business.
No.
So again, Frank Campana, Petey Delanoy, I appreciate you for giving not just Cardo, but multiple people opportunities.
Yes.
And hopefully maybe I can get you guys on one day to talk about why you do that. I think it's great to be selfless. But Cardo, so the fact that you came home and you were used to having all this money.
Yeah.
And you went and you actually humbled yourself and took a job. Was it because of your daughter and life? And did you have bills? Like, how did that work?
Mostly her, mostly my father, but mostly of all, I don't want to make that same decision. It takes me one time to get
That's the
something.
intelligence.
It takes me one time to understand.
That's the intelligence. So these are the things that you all don't know about. This is the depth of this man, because he could have came home and been a straight knucklehead. Not saying that you don't do knucklehead things, because we all do, but the fact that you actually got it, that in order for me, I got to move different. This is the positive story that I love to hear.
I stress to the kids, like, I'll go watch like over 30 basketball games, all the little kids, like, they're not little anymore. They're like in their late teens, going into their 20s. I'm like, oh, look at big bro there. Yo, he was the man and not. Listen, there's consequences for being a man. And I try to explain to them, don't go down that path, because the path ain't gonna lead you nowhere but to a dark alley. And then the dark alley leads you into a dark place.
Yeah, and when you tell kids stuff like that, what do they?
They're like, you did it.
Some you can try to help, but they gotta bump their head themselves.
Some of them gonna learn the hard way. But I tell you, I think some of them get it. There's a couple guys that I used to like play ball with, train with, and I think they understand it.
I hope so, because see, they see you, like right now, do you have a car?
Yeah,
So you got your car from working,
yeah,
right?
yep,
So you pay car payments like everybody else,
yes.
you know what I mean? That type of thing. So it's showing them still how, you have to do what you have to do to survive, and you don't have to be, you can still be cool because you're cool as I don't know what, because everybody likes being around you.
And
Everybody.
and the moral of the story is, I don't have X amount of dollars just laying around and being able to go travel, but I got everything I had when I was last home. Besides the money and the travel, I have everything. I have shelter, food, place to stay,
Common
back
sense
and
things,
forth,
though.
common sense.
Things that you don't realize that you can, and see, it's hard to see that you can get those things in another
And
way.
you can get it working. You can get
It's
it
hard to
working.
see it
You just gotta
sometimes.
work. You just gotta work a little harder, and you gotta work a little overtime.
So do you have methodical thinking? Do you think about, there's a method for me? If I want to get a car, if I want to make my car payment, I have to do this, this, and this.
Yes.
So
yes.
you have that
I'm
kind of
already
thinking.
planning
Who would
the
think
play
that?
out in my head.
But who would think that? And see, this is the depth. So sometimes people in the street don't even have a plan.
Nah,
I've seen it.
I've
I've been to court with people. I've seen people say, not even have a good explanation for why they were doing what they're doing. And I'm not knocking it, because like I told you, I've seen people be pushed out there where they had no other options. But how cool is it that you can still have fun, right? You can still have fun, but you're home and you're safe. You don't got to look over your shoulder, right?
Yep.
And that's the depth, and the fact that you know how to make a car payment, pay bills. You know what I mean? Some people don't understand that because they only see the flash as the benefit, not being able to think meticulously about what you have to do to get this done or to get that done.
And one other thing I learned is people, place, things. If you don't involve yourself with people in certain places and do things, you will not get in trouble. I have not had a run-in with a law enforcement. No. I'm just saying, like, I'm not doing nothing, so I don't care.
No, but still,
But when I was ripping and running the streets, I was having these frequent.
But hate is something else, though.
And
that's the only reason why I say that. Hate, sometimes somebody could see you doing well and they don't like it.
Yeah, whether you working, hustling,
they just don't
playing
like
a sport,
it. They
selling
just don't.
clothes.
Some people think some people have this kind of thinking. Oh, so and so thinks that they're so and so, and this is, instead of saying, yo, it's like, it's really dope that Cardo came home and he sustained it. You know what I mean? Why can't we? I don't need to beat somebody down to do well,
Right.
or to do better, or to do what I got to do. Because sometimes when people you think are doing well, they're not.
They're not.
They're not. So, just Cardo, I'm so grateful that you took the time today to come and talk to me, because I know that people have this big conception that you're like this.
Yeah.
You're gonna be forever this crazy dude that is, you gotta be doing something, but
I hear it a lot.
I'm so proud of you because I hear you talk about your bills.
Yeah.
I hear you talk about, no, I gotta do this, I gotta take care of that. It's very, very important to me that a father cares about being a father.
And you might not be the best father, but every day you keep trying. And that's all you can do.
Listen, I think
until you
and you didn't have to speak to those kids.
No.
Like, you didn't have to tell those
like,
kids.
man, I don't know. Get out of here.
You could have painted the picture like, yeah, yo, we was running things up in it.
Right.
People do
This
that.
is what you need to do
Yo,
this
there's a dude over there. Or people come home and they actually use other people to do what they used to do.
Yeah.
I mean, it could happen, I know that, I just imagine that it's very hard to have that kind of life with that much stuff, that much privilege to be able to move like you want to move,
right.
but I see that it can happen again. So eventually you're going to be telling me, we got to have you back as a guest. And then you're going to be able to tell me, yeah, I went on a vacation, like my first vacation
Right.
since I'm living, this
Right.
kind of life,
Right.
So I'm looking forward to that. So I'm so glad that you came on.
Thank you for
I
having me.
appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Are you gonna come back?
Oh yeah.
That's
Why
what I
not?
like. That's what I like. But you can even bring somebody, you can bring a friend. I'm so looking forward to having you again. Nina's bag. Thank you so much, Cardo, for
Thank you
coming
for
on.
having me.
Let's see what's in Nina's bag next.